Hello.
Hi.
Shorty brings her man of 3 years, Kenneth, onto the show to humiliate him. But did it boomerang on her? Welcome to Cliff Alerts. Today we're going to be talking about OWN Network's reality-based TV series, Put a Ring on It, Season 3, the reunion episode.
And we're going to be focusing obviously on Shorty and Kenneth. But before we get into it, please like, share, subscribe. And if you're returning to our channel, we will appreciate if you will subscribe. Thank you so much for doing so. So let's get into this, the ugliness and rank stuff that Shorty has put forward to the world.
Karma, boomerang, back on her.
The show began with Egypt, who is the host of the show, asking Shorty why did she come on the show, and that she had a laundry list of things that she wanted Ken to do. She said coming into the process, she was ready to exit the relationship, but still holding on a little in a hope that the coaching would help.
She's lying.
That's a lie.
She's lying.
And she actually
she had already
said
made a decision, and she admitted it.
On television, she doesn't lie, but she already acknowledged it. She was on her way out. She signed up for the show. She said to give Kenneth a chance, an opportunity to date. Is he 5 years old? Is that where she's coming from? This woman is foul from her soul. The odor coming out of her came into our living rooms wherever we watched her. You had to go around with Lysol and say, in the name of Jesus, to get that funk, that spirit out of your house. This is a good indication to let people know that looks are not everything.
On the outside especially, don't necessarily indicate what stench may exist on the inside, for sure.
She actually said she needed to do what was best for her. Fine, and we appreciate that. But why you have to sign up for a show to bring a man that you have been living with?
Right, and you claim to have a relationship for 3 years.
For 3 years. And according to Kenneth, he met you at this concert. You encouraged him to leave Louisiana, and that you guys work together to get where you are.
Right.
So clearly the financial windfall that she came into is a big part of how she's behaving now towards Kenneth.
Oh, she brand new now, right?
Yes, she is. But I thought it was so evil to bring that man who has the personality of a teenager, constantly humiliate him, and then at the end of it you admit that that's what you did. And it's okay.
Not only did she waste our time as viewers, she wasted the cruise time, the counselor time. She also wasted the time of the dates that she went on. I think was it Tavi?
Yes.
Was one of the dates that she went on. All of that was a stunt.
Tavi said that the relationship fizzled after she told him that she focused on Kenneth, which was a lie.
Yeah, she focused on the bullshit that she was running.
Let's hear what Miss Shorty had to say. He had blocked him from all
social media. Right.
The part she thought was important is that she had to change her number that she had for 15 years.
And also that she got security there on the set to deal with, well, I guess some perceived threat, I guess. From
Kenneth now is saying that when they break up, she calls him back. She woos him with dinners, and she puts that sex thing on him and all this stuff to bring him back into the fold. She claims she never said that Kenneth did not work, was broke. Egypt had to say, hold up.
That's the weasel way out of this.
Didn't say that, but you imply that.
That's the weasel way out of this. She goes out of her way to create the impression that, okay, this man's not holding up his financial end of our responsibility, and this is what I expect of him, but yet and still, she knows all along that something's different.
Right, and at one point, remember in counseling, she said, oh, I pay the bills, so I expect you to cook.
Right, to cook.
And that was a lie. I don't know why Kenneth allowed her to say that on television, because Kenneth was contributing to their household 50-50, he said, from the start. But she implied that constantly. At one point, she said Kenneth was out of her league.
And that was part of the narrative that she was trying to create regarding why it was that she wanted to, kind of exit the scene.
Right.
Right.
And And then she mentions the thing that we all were opposed to initially when she said it, that Kenneth sent some sort of stuff to her job.
Right. Do you believe that now?
No.
I don't.
No, because the way she framed it on the show, it seems like she was trying to prevent that rather than it actually had happened.
Yeah, I have my issues with how Kenneth behaved in certain situations. I have my thoughts about what it says about as a person as it relates to this whole process. But he's been taken advantage of in this.
Yes, he has.
And it was done deliberately by Shorty.
Kenneth said that Shorty convinced him. She laid that thing on him to get him on the show.
Yeah.
And that she was clout chasing. She used him. She used the opportunity to be on the show to advance her career.
Her radio career.
She was, what do you say? She was stunting.
Yeah.
It's really troubling that she believed that this was the best way to approach leaving Kenneth.
Right.
She wanted to kill a lot of birds with one stone.
She even dragged in her mother to help her do this.
To drag him. She dragged him up one street and down the other. Meanwhile, he doesn't have the words to articulate to tell her to not do that. His way of trying to get her to stop is drinking and then cussing her out.
Shorty was getting a whole lot of flack and feedback from the viewer regarding how she moved. You know what? You try to give people the benefit of the doubt, and you don't want to think ill of or bad of someone without having something concrete, more definite to.
Shorty actively dismember Kenneth from limb to limb, and he's like a deer caught in the headlights. And he does not know how to respond to her in a way to shut her down. It's after the fact. He said he learned a new word.
Emasculate.
Emasculate. And he said he's been repeating that all the time. He now found out that that's what she was doing.
How do you bring somebody on for 3 years and emasculate the man and then think that it's going to end up looking good for you? That something good out of it is going to come for you.
God.
I have my issues with how Kenneth moved in this process. I do. But the impetus of it was Shorty and this plot, scheme, whatever y'all want to call it.
It was a plot.
Yeah. To drag this man through this process as a way of getting out and do that to further your own career. Shorty has not done black women well on this one.
I got to go through this house again and
burn the sage and all of that.
Sage it. Because we were looking at head-on evil last night.
I cannot begin to tell you how disappointed and just flat out with how this woman moved and how this woman, did so at the expense of a black man.
Yes, we know you're at a different status level now because of the settlement money. But is that gonna clean you up from this situation? I don't think so. So this is a cautionary tale for me, because everything I see, I try to filter it through where I am and what I see. It's a cautionary tale for me, and I mean those who want to see it.
Me too.
That money is not a bad thing, but Shorty's mentality once she got some money was to try to destroy someone who was laying up in her bed. The woman is dangerous. She's foul. And she doesn't understand that the same way she did Kenneth, somebody is coming to do her the same way.
Yeah, it's worse though. It's normally worse.
Yes.
It's normally worse.
That's why you gotta move towards the light, move off the cliff, because a grain of light changes the darkness in the room.
Kenneth, let me just talk a little bit about Kenneth for a moment, because he made some serious mistakes. Him getting pulled up or whatever and saying some things out of line to her ain't right. There's no question about that. But I think he was doing so out of sense of pain, and he felt like he had been disrespected, which he was, and he didn't know how to respond, how to deal with that. So he needs to learn and or mature to a point where he does know how to deal with that. And that's not Shorty's responsibility. That's Kenneth's responsibility.
Right. That's why his date that he had, who was also a radio personality,
Right.
she said she liked Kenneth, but he had some growing up to do.
He does. And there's no question about that. He ought to own that part of it.
The hope is that he gets to that place.
He needs to put Shorty in the rear view mirror and
Quickly.
Keep rolling.
Quickly. Kenneth must have seen the evil coming out of her at some point.
Well, and that was one of the other issues that I think I have with Kenneth. You're not trying to tell me that there were no cliff alert signs going off throughout the course of this their relationship that led up to this point.
Right.
And he had to have ignored them. He had to have. Right. So he owns part of this.
Why spend the energy and time when you could clearly just have a conversation? Like they break up, they make up, break up, make up. That's why his brother was so strong about the toxic stuff she would do. And then additionally, if Shorty had no intentions to go any further with Kenneth, why was she calling his mother?
Right. Right. She will.
I hope Ken have a couple of men who can speak wisdom to him, that he spends some time with himself, that he forgives himself, and he's able to move on, just do what he needs to do to maintain some level of dignity. And I wish him well.
I wish him well too, and believe it or not, I wish Shorty well, because she's got some karma, like you said, coming back at her, and she gonna need to do a whole lot of self work and self development to be able to deal with that part of it is coming, and she's not gonna be able to get away from that.
That person who did this is sitting right next to her, so everywhere she goes, that character, that personality is coming right with her.
Wish both of them well, especially Kenneth's case, because of the two, I think he was more genuine in terms of what his intentions were for being on the show in the first place, and where he possibly thought that they could end up.
Well, he was shocked when she said she was just on the show to get rid of him.
Right, clearly by his reaction.
By his reaction, he was shocked.
Right, exactly, which means that, like I said, this was all premeditated.
That's all we have.
Thank God
please
for that.
like, share, subscribe. If you see any part of yourself in Shorty and her behavior, God is just telling you that
that's not the way.
You need to turn around. God bless you guys.
See y'all.
Be safe and be kind to yourself.